Why are people fleeing Europe's banking capital in droves, turning their backs on London and the UK? The UK, historically a magnet for global talent and investment, is now facing a tide of departures. What has caused this dramatic shift, and why are its residents seeking refuge elsewhere? Is this trend a mere hiccup in the UK's storied history, or is it a sign of a deeper, more permanent decline? We discuss the issues driving people away from London, shedding light on the challenges that have turned a once thriving nation into a place many are eager to leave. High living cost. The cost of living in London has skyrocketed to unprecedented levels. A family of 4 now faces estimated monthly expenses of $8,059, while a single person's costs amount to $5,383. Dining out, once a casual affair, has become a luxury. The monthly rent for a modest 85 meters squared furnished accommodation in an expensive area is $4,496, while the same space in a normal area demands $3,825. The price of energy has gone through the roof, forcing families into the unthinkable choice between staying warm or having a meal. This financial strain isn't just about numbers on a bill. It's a mental health crisis in the making, with stress levels skyrocketing and mental well-being plummeting. The simple joys of life, like a cup of coffee or a movie night, have become a luxury many can no longer afford. But what's the engine driving this relentless rise in costs? Is it a temporary storm or a long-term shift in the UK's economic landscape? Housing crisis. The housing crisis has escalated into a national scandal, exacerbating generational poverty and homelessness as sky-high rents and a lack of affordable housing options continue to plague the nation. The crisis is deeply rooted in historical policy decisions, such as the Right to Buy scheme introduced in the 1980 Housing Act, which led to a significant decline in council house building and left tenants disempowered. In London, the situation is particularly dire, with 11% of homes being overcrowded compared to just 4% across England. The city is currently building only about 1/6 of the social homes needed, further exacerbating the crisis. Moreover, recent data from the Greater London Authority indicates that the average asking rents for new tenancies have slowed down, yet affordability concerns persist as rental prices continue to outpace wage growth. In 2022-23, only 2.3% of properties listed for rent in London were affordable on benefits alone. The supply of housing has not kept pace with the city's growing population, leading to a sharp decline in the number of starts, completions, and sales of homes in London. Is the UK inadvertently undermining its own stability from within? Underlying factors and consequences. The cost of living and housing crises are issues influenced by government policies, market dynamics, and global events. Economic policies, including taxation, subsidies, and public spending, play a crucial role in shaping the cost of living. Recent policy changes, such as adjustments in tax rates or reductions in social welfare benefits, exacerbate the financial strain on households. In the housing market and energy sector, supply and demand dynamics have led to rising costs, further compounded by the impact of Brexit on trade and prices. The COVID-19 pandemic and geopolitical tensions have disrupted supply chains, contributing to inflation and economic instability. The crisis disproportionately affects low-income families, renters, and small businesses, exacerbating social mobility and inequality. Later in this discussion, we will discuss the role of immigration, particularly illegal immigration, and whether it is the root cause of many of the issues plaguing the UK. Healthcare problems. The National Health Service, NHS, once the pride of the UK, is now facing a crisis of unprecedented proportions. The efficiency and accessibility that defined the NHS are things of the past, replaced by a maze of referrals and excruciatingly long waits for treatment. The core of this crisis is a combination of dwindling budgets and a shrinking workforce, leaving the NHS struggling for breath. The severity of the situation has led experts to call for the declaration of a national emergency, pointing to chronic underfunding, acute staff shortages, and the pressures of an aging population as existential threats to the service. Additionally, the dental health sector has been hit hard, with reports of people pulling their own teeth amid an NHS dental crisis, highlighting the dire state of healthcare accessibility. Brexit, which was touted as a boon for the NHS with promises of additional funding and reduced pressure from immigration, has not delivered the anticipated relief. Is the NHS on the brink of collapse? Immigration policies and social cohesion. The tightening of immigration policies in the UK has ignited a fiery debate about the nation's identity and the fabric of its society. A significant portion of the British population feels sidelined by consecutive governments, leading to a profound sense of alienation. There's a prevailing sentiment that multiculturalism was never wholeheartedly embraced in the UK, and resistance to immigration is intensifying, particularly towards refugees and asylum seekers perceived as not contributing to the nation's economy. Concerns about cultural clashes and the erosion of indigenous traditions are mounting, with many feeling their way of life is under siege. The strain on housing, education, healthcare, and other public services is a pressing issue, with perceptions that immigrants are being prioritized over native citizens. Calls for stricter border controls are growing louder, with some advocating for a temporary halt to all immigration to alleviate the pressure. There's a growing fear that the UK is losing its distinct identity and cultural heritage to accommodate newcomers. Many feel that the country is transforming into something unrecognizable and that urgent action is needed to preserve the British way of life. The push for Western countries to embrace multiculturalism is being questioned, with some arguing that similar expectations are not imposed on nations in Africa, Asia, or the Middle East. This mounting frustration is driving people to leave London and the UK in search of a place that aligns more closely with their values and lifestyle. Political unrest and Brexit fallout. The UK is navigating turbulent waters in the aftermath of Brexit, a pivotal event that has significantly altered its global standing and internal dynamics. The UK's decision to leave the EU in 2016 marked a dramatic shift towards independence, fueled by promises of empowerment and a return to former glory.
I want everyone watching to be reassured that we have the tools we need and the determination to get inflation back under control and keep it low.
The leadership landscape has been particularly volatile, arguably contributing to a perception of the UK's declining credibility on the global stage. Can London reclaim its position on the global stage, or is it now grappling with the specter of irrelevance?